After 30 days in the hospital, my family's absence was exposed. Who came to my rescue is amazing. Sarah Thompson lay in her hospital bed, bright fluorescent lights slicing through the darkness of her isolation. It felt unreal. Just 30 days ago, she was the dedicated nurse and single mother steering her life like a well-oiled machine. Now she was fighting to breathe, her body tethered to machines that beeped and hummed, while her heart ached with the weight of abandonment. No calls, texts, no one, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Even her estranged sister Emily, the silence of family haunting her, had vanished. Back in their small Midwestern town, life continued without her. Her son, Tyler, was at home with Mrs. Johnson, the sweet old neighbor known for her corn casserole and relentless spirit. Mrs. Johnson was doing her best, juggling groceries, playdates, and trustworthy stories to soothe Tyler's worries. Meanwhile, Sarah felt more adrift than ever, every hospital hour a reminder of the gaping hole left by her family's indifference. The sterile white walls closed in, amplified by each nurse's shift change, heightening the loneliness that settled heavily on her chest. Then, it started. The community came together, rallying around her with bake sales and home-cooked meals. Each one a reminder that family doesn't always have to be blood. Mrs. Johnson baked endless casseroles, clasping Sarah's hand, promising, "We got you, dear." As Sarah's heart swelled at the thought, it also ached. It wasn't the same. Part of her still yearned for just one message, one simple sign from her family that they cared. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then, just when despair threatened to overtake her spirit, Emily walked through the hospital doors, eyes brimming with regret. "I know I've been gone," she said, the tension palpable. Old resentments cracked like ice beneath their conversation. "You think I wanted to leave?" Sarah's heart raced with questions, her mind a whirlwind. Was family just about blood? They were bound by shared memories but separated by time and unresolved pain. In that moment, surrounded by heartfelt support from her community, Sarah's heart began to shift. Maybe these neighbors, their kindness and compassion, were the family she never realized she could have. Together, they organized a gathering, honoring Sarah's fight and resilience, infusing her with hope. As the voices of her neighbors rose in unison, an unwavering reminder of the strength of human connection enveloped her. But just then, as Emily opened her mouth to speak, Sarah's pulse quickened. Would Emily's revelation tear apart the fragile normalcy they were trying to establish? Would it deepen the rift, or heal old wounds? The air was thick, electric with possibility, leaving Sarah teetering on the edge of hope and despair as she awaited the next words that could change everything. Emily hesitated, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. The weight of their shared history hung heavy in the room, pressing down on both of them. "There's something I needed to tell you, Sarah," Emily finally murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mom, she never really understood how hard things were for you. She thought you were fine. We all did." Sarah's heart clenched. Was this really what she needed to hear? The familiar wave of anger mixed with sadness rose within her. "Fine? I wasn't fine, Emily. I struggled day in and day out. I never asked for their help because I thought they didn't care." She fought through her tears, her voice trembling. Emily's face softened, and for the first time, Sarah could see the hurt etched in her sister's features. "I didn't know either. When you left for the city, I just assumed you had everything put together. I thought, maybe, you wanted to be alone." "Alone?" "I wanted support. I wanted to feel like I wasn't doing this all on my own." Her heart raced as she relived the loneliness and the despair. Emily stepped closer, her eyes earnest. "I'm so sorry. I can't change the past, but I want to help. I don't want to lose you again. Time stood still, suspended between them. For a moment, everything else faded, the machines beeping in the background, the laughter of her neighbors in the hallway, the smell of antiseptic that clung to the air. Maybe we can start over? Sarah suggested, vulnerability lacing her tone. It was a fragile hope, one she was almost afraid to articulate. Yes. Let us try, Sarah. I've missed you and Tyler. I want to be there for you both. A small smile flickered across Emily's face, lighting up the dimness in Sarah's heart just a bit, but as their conversation drew out, a small voice interrupted from the hallway. Tyler had peeked around the corner, his bright eyes filled with innocence and curiosity. Mom? He called softly, instantly grounding Sarah in the moment. Tyler. Honey, come here. Sarah reached her hands out, feeling the warmth spread through her as he rushed into her embrace. It felt so good, so right to hold her boy again. Mrs. Johnson said you were feeling better, but I was so scared, Tyler said, his tiny voice breaking her heart all over again. He had a right to be scared. She had been absent, and so much had changed. Is everything okay? Before Sarah could respond, Emily knelt beside them, her eyes glistening. Everything is going to be okay, buddy. You're going to have your mom back. But the uncertainty still flickered in the air. Would family be enough to mend the gaping holes of the past? Would she be strong enough to bear the burden of old grudges alongside new beginnings? While tears fell freely, tears of joy, pain, and the hope of rebuilding, they tangled together in her heart. If only they could unlock a future, filled with love and healing. As Sarah held her son tighter, the knot in her stomach stirred again. It wasn't just about reconnecting with Emily. There were still family battles to face, words left unsaid and aching feelings that needed addressing. So much lay ahead, and as she looked between Tyler and Emily, Sarah's heart whispered, what if this was just the beginning of something far more complicated? Would she be able to handle the truth that lay hidden behind the family she had longed to know? Tyler nestled against Sarah, his little body a comforting weight in her arms. For a fleeting moment, the world outside faded away. Just her and him alive, connected. The hospital room felt warmer, the sterile smell less overwhelming, with the innocence of his love wrapping around them like a soft blanket. Can we watch cartoons after you get out? He asked, his voice laced with hope. The simple request tugged at Sarah's heart. Sure, buddy. Just as soon as I'm home, she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. But in the back of her mind, worries loomed over the horizon. What if she returned to chaos? She had a life to reclaim, a living situation to navigate. What if the fractures in their family only got worse with time spent apart? Emily broke the silence. I missed a lot while you were gone. I want to hear about everything. But I also want to know what's left unsaid. I hope we can tackle that too. Sarah turned her gaze to Emily, seeing the determination in her sister's eyes. I guess we should, she admitted, though every word felt like pulling at a loose thread in a well-worn tapestry. But it's not easy to revisit old wounds. I know, Emily soothed, gently squeezing Sarah's hand. But I'd rather face this together than alone. Just like we used to when we were kids. A flurry of memories swept over Sarah. Summers spent exploring the woods behind their house, the laughter they shared during late-night talks, those moments when it felt like nothing could tear them apart. But then reality hit her, and she pulled back slightly. I'm not the same person I was, Em, she confessed softly. And I'm worried you won't recognize me. Emily shook her head. You don't need to be someone else for me. Just be you, the sister I love. There was an earnestness in her tone that was hard to ignore. Tyler piped up, sensing the emotional weight. Mom, can I make a picture for you? To hang on your wall when you get home? Yes. I'd love that, Sarah said, her heart swelling with gratitude. Can I help? Emily asked, her voice eager now. Of course. It'll be a fun project for all of us, Sarah smiled, her pain momentarily diffused by the lightness that fractured through her worries. As Emily and Tyler sketched out bright colors on construction paper, Their laughter filled the room. Sarah felt as if she were drifting between two worlds, the hopeful newness blossoming around her and the shadows of her past trying to claw their way back in. She caught Emily's eye as their son chose vibrant crayons, and she felt a sense of connection begin to mend the space between them. "You think we can really fix this, Emily?" she asked, the deep-seated doubt creeping back in. Emily paused, looking at her sister with a steely resolve. "I believe we can. But it's going to take work, Sarah. And I'm in it for the long haul. All of us, together." A sudden beeping from the machine interrupted their moment, reminding Sarah that time was still a ticking clock. Each moment spent in this room was a step towards reclaiming both the past and the future. And yet, fear lingered. Would they truly be able to understand one another? Could they navigate through the unspoken resentments of their childhood? Just then, the door creaked open, and a nurse stepped inside, her expression unreadable. "Time for a brief checkup, Miss Klein." As she approached, Sarah felt her heart race again. Would this appointment change everything, or would it just be another reminder of all that was still left unsaid? With uncertainty bubbling inside her, Sarah braced for what lay ahead. What revelations would this checkup bring her? Would they be the key to unlocking the answers she both needed and feared? The nurse's presence pushed Sarah back to the immediate reality of her circumstances. "Let us check your vitals," she said, her voice steady and professional. The nurse measured Sarah's temperature, then gently took her pulse. Taking in a deep breath, Sarah tried to focus on the familiar rhythm of hospital life, the beeping monitors, the soft rustling of feet in the corridor, the faint scent of antiseptic. As the nurse prepared to leave, she glanced back at Sarah with a warm smile. "You're doing great. Just a little longer, and you'll be out of here." "Thanks," Sarah whispered, watching her leave. For the briefest moment, the room felt empty. The laughter from Emily and Tyler faded like the echo of a distant song. She looked at her boy, busy with crayon in hand. He was lost in his world, fragments of color scattered around him. "What are you drawing, sweetie?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. Tyler's face lit up. "A big blue dragon. He's going to fly you home." "A dragon? Wow, I can't wait to ride him," Sarah said, channeling her own childhood wonder in an effort to fuel his excitement. Tyler giggled, "And he breathes fire. And if anyone tries to hurt you, he'll protect you too," Emily chimed in, leaning closer to examine the budding artwork. Sarah felt warmth bloom in her chest at that moment. It was small and fragile but vital, like a seed pushing through the earth. "You two make an amazing team," she murmured, drawing the two closest to her with their shared enthusiasm. Emily dipped her finger into a vibrant orange crayon and began adding flames to Tyler's dragon. "Teamwork is our secret weapon," she announced, her voice bright with cheer. A sudden wave of affection washed over Sarah, and she realized that despite the chaos swarming in her heart, they could create something beautiful together. She took a breath, steeling herself against her persistent fears. "So, what is going to happen after I get out? How can we make this work?" The laughter faded, and Emily put down the crayon, glancing at Sarah with a serious expression. "We'll take it one step at a time. You don't have to have all the answers right now. But what if I fall back into old habits?" Sarah's voice trembled, a mirror of her uncertainty. "What if I hurt you both again?" Emily reached for her hand. "You've already taken the hardest step by being here, Sarah. And we're here for you." Tyler chimed in, "You're my mom. A dragon come to save me." His innocent confidence made them both smile, but Sarah felt the fissures inside her begin to crack once more. Just then, the door swung open again, this time revealing a familiar face. It was Marcus, his brow furrowed with worry but eyes lighting up when he spotted her. "I came as soon as I heard you were awake," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Marcus, the heaviness in Sarah's heart lifted momentarily, only to be replaced with equal parts joy and anxiety. What did his presence signify? Would this goodwill bring more healing, or would it unravel old wounds? "Can I come in?" he asked, stepping forward before Sarah had a chance to process. "Of course," she managed to reply, but her heart raced. What were they about to confront? Would his return ignite a spark of understanding, or send them down a path they could never return from? As Sarah looked between Marcus and Emily, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her. How would everything unfold from here? Could they weave their past into a future that redeemed their broken ties? The room seemed to shift, thick with possibility, and Sarah held her breath. Marcus stepped into the room, his presence igniting a swirl of emotions in Sarah. She wanted to leap into his arms, yet she was terrified to step back into the once familiar warmth of his embrace. So many memories, so much hurt and healing swirled like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. "Hey, Sarah," he said softly, his eyes searching hers for reassurance. "Hey," she replied, trying to match his calm, but the tremble in her voice gave her away. She flicked her gaze to Emily and Tyler, the weight of the moment pulling her deeper into uncertainty. Would she ever truly be the mother they deserved? Marcus scratched the back of his head, breaking the silence. I wanted to see how you were doing." He stepped closer, glancing at Tyler's vibrant artwork. "Looks like you've got a lot going on." Tyler looked up proudly. "I'm making a fire-breathing dragon. He's going to take mommy home." Sarah's heart tightened at her son's innocent belief, such a hopeful spark that lit a fire in her own mind. "Yes. That's exactly what I need," she said, forcing a smile, but the fear of inadequacy lingered like a shadow. "Can we talk?" Marcus's voice dropped a notch, transforming into something more intimate. He gestured toward the empty chairs in the corner, a silent invitation to a heart-to-heart. Sarah exchanged glances with Emily, who nodded in encouragement. It was a small gesture, but it sent courage seeping back into her bones. "Sure," she said, her pulse quickening as she climbed into uncharted waters. They settled into the chairs, the air thick with unspoken words. "I didn't know what to expect when I arrived. I just hoped you'd be okay," Marcus admitted, his expression shifting from concern to something deeper. "I've missed you." "I've missed you too," she whispered, the admission breaking free like a bird from a cage. "But it's been hard. I'm terrified of falling back into my old life. What if I disappoint you again?" His gaze softened. "You're not alone in this, Sarah. We're all here for you. Emily and Tyler, they love you. And I do too. We want you here, we need you." A wave of emotion washed over her, threatening to pull her under. Did she have the strength for this? "What if I mess it up again?" she repeated, more vulnerable now. Marcus leaned forward, his eyes unflinching. "You'll fall, but we'll help you get back up again. It won't be easy, but I promise, it's worth it." His sincerity began to chip away at Sarah's apprehension. She opened her mouth to ask him something, anything that might solidify this moment, but the sound of crayons scraping against paper stole her focus. "Mom! Look! The dragon can fly!" Tyler exclaimed, his little arms flapping like wings, his laughter bright and innocent. It was contagious. "Let me see." Sarah turned her attention to her son, watching him while her heart swelled. This, right here, was life. This was what she needed to fight for. "So what's the plan, Sarah?" Marcus leaned back, a hint of hope threading through his expression. She took a deep breath, embracing the weight of possibility, and for the first time in a long while, she felt the tremors of hope reverberating within her. "Well, I guess we need to start by figuring out how to keep this dragon flying," she said playfully, glancing at Tyler. "Yeah. And we can make him a castle." Tyler shouted, excitement bubbling over. Emily laughed, her voice ringing like an anthem of joy. "A dragon and his castle sounds amazing." As they all shared a laugh, the world outside dimmed, the worries fading. But inside, Sarah felt the storm of her emotions lift, replaced instead by a spark, a tiny seed of resilience. But what would tomorrow bring? Would the reality of life outside these walls prove too overwhelming? Would they truly be able to transform pain into strength, fears into wings? As Sarah glanced at Marcus, who was watching her with guarded hope, she realized they were standing on the edge of something monumental. What would they discover together once the door opened? The laughter hung in the air, a fragile bubble of joy that felt almost surreal. Sarah watched Marcus smile, his eyes twinkling with hope, and she almost didn't recognize the warmth that spread through her chest. It was a healing balm against the fears that once clung to her so tightly. "I can help with the castle." Tyler interrupted, his fingers smudged with bright colors, as he leaned forward, excitement vibrating through him. It was infectious. Sarah found herself smiling deeper, drawn into the imagination swirling around them. "Of course. It'll be a magical castle," she said. "And we can fill it with treasures." Emily joined in, like cookies and books, and maybe a trampoline for jumping. Suddenly, it wasn't just a crayon drawing. It was a world of possibility. Sarah stopped for a moment, realizing she hadn't felt this light in ages, like the weight of her worries had lifted just enough for her to breathe, but as Marcus watched her, something shifted in his expression. He cleared his throat, the playful atmosphere pulsing with an underlying tension. "Sarah," he started, "with the holidays coming up, I was hoping we could spend some time together. The four of us. As a family." The word family hung between them. It wrapped around Sarah's heart like a vine, beautiful yet constricting. Memories flooded back, a mix of laughter and pain, of moments where family brought her joy but also despair. "That sounds nice," she stammered, her voice faltering, a knot tightening in her stomach. Marcus pressed on, "I know it might feel too soon, but I want you to know I'm here for you. For Emily and Tyler. We can take this slowly." "Slowly," Sarah echoed, oddly comforted by the concept, yet a flicker of doubt ignited within. What if she took a step back and couldn't find her way forward again? What if this time, the castle crumbled before the dragon could take flight? Tyler plopped down next to Marcus, mischievous energy radiating from him. "Can we go see the real dragons? The ones at the zoo?" The innocent question pulled a smile from Sarah, but its simplicity brought her back to reality with a thud. "Sweetheart, those are just lizards," she said, her heart pricking with the need to protect his dreams, yet his enthusiasm made her want to dive into childhood fantasy with him. Emily chimed in, her voice soothing, "Maybe we can go after the school break? We could make it a little adventure." Sarah's eyes darted between Marcus and Emily, the weight of that simple invitation revealing itself to be monumental. An adventure? It seemed like such a small thing, but could she handle it? The anxiety rushed back like an unwelcome tide. "I appreciate that. I really do," she said, her voice firming up, but uncertainty still danced in her eyes. "But I need to make sure I'm strong enough for that." Marcus reached across the little table, his fingers brushing against hers. "Together, we can build that strength," he assured, his voice rich with conviction. "You've done so much already, Sarah. Don't underestimate yourself." She needed the comfort of his words, but guilt flickered like a flame in her thoughts. Was hanging on to the past her way of denying her future? As she caught Marcus's gaze, a new understanding formed. "What if, this time, I need help to make that leap?" Sarah said softly, her voice almost trembling at the admission. "What if I can't do this alone?" His response was immediate, intense. "You don't have to. You're not alone anymore, Sarah. We'll take it one step at a time." In that moment, Sarah felt a breath of fresh air brush over her, igniting something fierce within. And yet, the question loomed large in her heart. Would she find the courage to truly lean on those she cared about? With evening approaching, shadows began to weave through the room, but they all clustered together, buoyed by their shared dreams. They began sketching the castle, filling it with little ideas that brought laughter into the walls. One dragon led to another, and soon, tiny sketchbooks held more than crayon marks. They held hope. As they worked, a thought slipped into Sarah's mind. What if letting go was a key to something even greater? Could community allow her to grow beyond her fears? But just as hope began to sink its roots, a knock echoed across the door, slicing through the moment and sending startled glances flying. Who could it be? Would they bring news that might disrupt this fragile newfound space? Sarah's pulse quickened, her heartbeat echoing the question that slowly distilled into panic. Could her past unravel everything she was trying to create? The knock on the door shattered the laughter like glass, leaving silence in its wake. Sarah's heart raced. She glanced at Marcus, who frowned slightly, concern clouding his expression. Tyler stopped mid-doodle, the crayon hovering uncertainly above the paper, and Emily's smile slipped away, replaced by a look of cautious curiosity. "Go check who it is," Marcus urged gently, but there was a hint of steel in his voice. He felt it too, the shift, the tension in the air. "Okay, I'll be right back," Sarah said, forcing her legs to move as she stood. Each step toward the door felt like stepping through thick mud. Who could it be? A part of her wanted to hide away, to keep this fragile moment intact, untouched by the outside world. Opening the door, Sarah's breath caught. There, standing under the dim porch light, was her sister, Claire. She looked disheveled and a bit lost, her usually vibrant energy dimmed. Claire's gaze swept over Sarah and then darted inside, taking in the scene, the sketches littered across the table, the laughter that felt suspended in the air. "Hey," Claire said, her voice soft, almost uncertain. "Hey." Sarah echoed, trying to mask her surprise. "What are you doing here?" I was in the neighborhood," Claire stammered, though anyone could tell she was lying. A flash of hurt sliced through Sarah. After everything, this was her sister's way of checking in? Tyler peeked around Sarah, eyes wide. "And Claire?" He rushed forward, arms open wide, but his excitement collided with Sarah's faltering heart. "Hey, buddy," Claire said, her tone instantly brightening as she bent down to hug him. But Sarah could see that it was forced, a mask that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Why don't you come in?" Sarah finally offered, stepping back and allowing Claire to enter. The moment she did, the tension thickened. The warmth of the room contrasted sharply with the chill that seemed to seep through Claire's aura. "There's a lot going on," Marcus said, breaking the silence as he stood, glancing between the two women. "We were just talking about spending time together as a family." His words were meant to invite, to ease the situation, but they stirred something deeper within Sarah. "We can talk about it later," Claire replied too quickly, avoiding Sarah's gaze. "I wasn't hoping to interrupt anything." "Interrupt?" "No. We're just building a castle," Emily chimed in, her enthusiasm innocent and bright. Sarah saw the tiny flicker of sympathy in Claire's eyes at Emily's comment, but it was gone in an instant. Claire straightened, suddenly defensive. "That's cute. But maybe it's not a good time." Sarah's chest tightened. Why was Claire so distant? The years apart felt like an ocean between them, waters muddied by misunderstandings and silence. Sarah started, her voice teetering on the edge. She opened her mouth again, but words failed her as memories of their strained past bubbled to the surface. Claire's eyes met hers, the vulnerability clouded by something deeper, perhaps guilt. "I've missed so much," she whispered, and for the first time, Sarah noticed the hint of tears threatening to spill over. "Then why haven't you been here?" Sarah asked, the emotions spilling out along with the weight of past resentment. Emily and Tyler instinctively retreated to the coloring table, sensing the tension, while Marcus stayed by Sarah's side, ready to support her. "I thought I was protecting you," Claire stammered. "I thought you needed space. Sarah interrupted, her voice rising. "I needed my sister. When everything fell apart, where were you?" The room felt electric, charged with unspoken words. The faint sound of crayons hitting paper was the only thing separating them from an avalanche of emotions. Claire took a step forward. "I'm here now. I want to fix this if you'll let me." "But what if it's too late?" Sarah's heart shattered a little more with each breath. The conflict lingered in the air, heavy and palpable. Each had a choice to make. Would they allow their past to define their future, or was there hope for healing? As a tear slipped down Claire's cheek, Sarah found herself teetering on the edge. Would this moment bring them closer or push them farther apart? The door swung wide open, and an unexpected voice echoed in the doorway. "Did I hear someone mention family?" Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "What now?" The voice belonged to Greg, their estranged brother. Tall and broad, he stood in the doorway, a flood of mixed emotions washing over Sarah. She hadn't seen him in years. His presence ignited a whirlwind of memories, arguments, laughter, and the deep rift that had formed between them like a chasm. Greg? Claire blinked, astonishment etched on her face. What are you doing here? I heard you were back in town. His gaze shifted to Sarah, searching her face. I thought it was time to check in on my beautiful sisters. There was a hint of warmth in his voice, but it was meter away from their shared histories. Years filled with unaddressed pain and unspoken words lingered in the air. Sarah's heart raced as she tried to process the implications of this surprise. The weight of their past pressed into her chest. Did he come to stir old wounds, or was he here to build bridges? Maybe you should have called first, Claire replied, a sharp edge creeping into her tone. The vulnerability they had just started to confront shifted again, replaced by defensiveness. While tension crackled like static electricity, Tyler bounced over to Greg, the innocent enthusiasm of a child standing in stark contrast to the fractured dynamics. Do you want to help us build the castle? He asked, eyes shining with excitement. For a moment, Greg's face softened, the memories of childhood surging forth as he knelt to meet Tyler's gaze. I'd love to, buddy. The warmth of the moment was short-lived. Sarah watched closely, her pulse quickening. The looming question hung thick in the air. Would Greg joining them usher in a new chapter, or merely drag the old scars into the light again? Why now, Greg? Sarah finally asked, her voice steady yet laden with emotion. Why did you come? His smile faltered. Taking a deep breath, he stood taller, seeming to collect his thoughts. I guess I realized I can't run away from you all anymore. I've missed a lot and I want to make excuses for it. Excuses are all we've had this whole time, Claire snapped, shooting him a glare. It was the stick of dynamite igniting the powder keg of unresolved tension. I'm trying, Claire. His voice dropped, and there was a tremor of sincerity in his tone. I really am. When I heard you were both together, I felt like I should show up. It's time we talked, respected the past a little, maybe start mending things. Emily, still coloring, looked up with wide eyes, sensing the shift. Tyler was momentarily distracted by the fun of his castle building, unaware of the storm brewing around him. Talk. Sarah scoffed, the word like fire on her tongue. Talk doesn't change years of absence, Greg. A long moment of silence stretched between them. Claire clenched her jaw, and Greg looked unsteady. Claire blinked back tears, frustration mixing with confusion on her face. This is not the reunion any of us wanted. I didn't know what I wanted. Greg's voice rose, filled with an emotion Sarah hadn't heard from him in ages. Vulnerability. Maybe I still don't. But I know we can't keep running from our family. Aren't we stuck in this together? The question hung in the air. Should they circle the wagons and try to heal, or continue to fling accusations in their tangled web of hurt? Just as Sarah opened her mouth to respond, a shrill ping from her phone broke through the emotional tension, cutting deeply into the moment. She glanced down, her breath hitching as she read the message. It was from their mother, a simple yet weighted text that read, "I'm coming home." The phrases seemed to ignite every unhealed wound in the room with a single flick. Now they really had a decision to make. Would they rise together to face the ghosts in their past, or retreat into silence once more? The room felt electric as Sarah's heart raced anew. What do we really want from this? She whispered, not ready to face the answer just yet. Because looming before them was the fractured web of their family upon which they all stood, teetering dangerously on the edge. The silence thickened after the ping of Sarah's phone, slicing through the tension like a knife. Greg straightened, his eyes darting between his sisters. What was that? He asked, voice trembling slightly. It's Mom, she whispered, her heart calculating the implications. She says she's coming home. Greg's face fell, shadows flickering across the hope that had barely begun to bloom. Claire's brows knitted together as fresh waves of tension crashed around them. This isn't the time for visits. Not now, she said, each word weighted. Tyler remained blissfully ignorant, weaving his dreams of a grand castle with every shove of the sand bucket, but the adults in the room felt like they were beginning to sink into quicksand. Does she really need to show up like this? Claire's voice cracked, revealing a sliver of the hurt she had tightly shackled. Sarah looked at her brother, then at Claire. We can't avoid her forever, she needs closure too, right? The suggestion hung in the air with a heavy uncertainty, like a dark cloud ready to burst. Greg blinked, searching for something, maybe reassurance, or perhaps validation. Closure? He echoed softly. That just sounds like another layer, another reason to keep running from what happened. What happened, Sarah said, her voice rising, is because all of us allowed it to happen. It takes two to fight. No, it takes three, Claire added, anger igniting the words, making them almost fly from her lips. I'm tired of pretending every family gathering isn't a show, and a painful one at that. Greg took a deep breath, visibly gathering his thoughts. Maybe that's why I came back. I wanted to confront it. What I've done to you both, to Mom, I want us to try. Sarah clenched her jaw. And what do we do when she walks through that door? The question lingered, heavy and pervasive, sweeping the room in a tense stillness. Before anyone could respond, Tyler's playful laughter burst forth, washing over the tension like a bomb. Look! I made a door for our castle. He held up a makeshift structure, a lopsided creation, triumph radiating from him. Sarah felt a twinge of pain, mixed with warmth. Look at that, Tyler. It's perfect, she said, smiling through the cracks in her heart. In that moment, Greg shifted his gaze to the child, the innocence of it so pure and untainted by their family's turmoil seeming to spark something in him. Maybe we could be like Tyler, he said quietly. Build something, instead of tearing it all down. Claire scoffed. Aren't we a bit old for that? No, Greg replied earnestly, not if it means building something real again. The sincerity in his voice caught them all off guard, a plea mixed with regret. The door creaked, drawing attention. Sarah's heart leaped. It felt like the world was holding its breath. Just then, the door swung open, and their mother stepped in with a suitcase in hand, her face a mask of uncertainty and resolve. Hi, everyone, she started, surveying the room. Each face turned to her, 1,000 emotions swirling between them. The unspoken grievances hung heavy in the atmosphere, palpable and raw. Mom, Claire started, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah's breath hitched. She glanced at Greg. The storm they were all facing was now in living color, and beneath the surface of their emotions lay a desperate drive to connect despite the cracks. As their mother stepped through the threshold, Sarah's heart raced. Did they have the strength to rebuild everything around them this time? Was that door to healing finally creaking open? But as the first timid words escaped their mother's lips, each person held their breath, knowing instinctively that the past was ready to confront them. What had been buried could no longer stay hidden. Can we talk? She asked, and with that, the real reckoning began. As their mother stood in the doorway, the air thickened with unspoken words. Each family member stood frozen, struck by waves of unresolved feelings that had lingered for far too long. Can we talk? She repeated, her voice trembling slightly, revealing both determination and vulnerability. The room felt electric, charged with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Sarah's heart raced. This was the moment they had been waiting for, yet the weight of all that had transpired sat heavy on her chest. Could she summon the courage to confront their past and look forward to a potential future? Claire, still caught in the turmoil of old wounds, stepped forward, her chin raised defiantly. You left us, Mom. You never really understood what we were going through. Their mother winced, her brows furrowing as if she had expected this confrontation while dreading it all the same. I know, and I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping my distance. I thought you all were better without me. As the words spilled forth, Sarah's heart tightened. But we needed you. We were scared. We were falling apart, she declared, her voice firm but sorrowful, the truth flooding her like a river breaking through its banks. I never intended to abandon you. I was fighting my own battles, and in vain. I thought I was protecting you. I thought that if I stayed away, you could thrive without the chaos I brought. Their mother's eyes glistened with unshed tears. But it didn't work that way, Sarah said, shaking her head. We ended up feeling more alone than ever. Silence settled like a thick fog, the unease palpable. Then Tyler, blissfully ignorant of the storm brewing, jumped in with his innocent voice. Can we all still play together and build the castle? Everyone turned to the little boy, whose childlike optimism seemed to light up the dim room, even amid the tension. His words floated like a balm against their fraught hearts, reminding them of the joy that family had once brought. Their mother glanced at Tyler, taking a deep breath. Yes, sweetie, yes, we can. But we need to talk first. She moved closer, her motherly instinct urging her to bridge the distance of so many missed moments. Honestly, I've missed so much, and I can't take back my mistakes. But I want to try. I want to know my children more than just through the echoes of phone calls, she pleaded, her voice breaking. Claire crossed her arms, still hesitant. Trying isn't enough after all this time, Mom, she said, sharpness lacing her tone. Can we believe you when it matters? Marcus, who had been silently observing, stepped forward, hoping to ease the tension. It starts with today. No more running. Only honesty, he said, looking directly at their mother. If we are to rebuild, let us be open about our fears, our shortcomings. We can't ignore the pain anymore. Sarah felt strength swell inside her. You may have been absent, but we are all here now, cracks and all. We need to be honest, even when it's uncomfortable. Their mother nodded, wiping tears from her cheeks. I promise to listen, to really listen. The openness hung in the air, and an unbroken circle began to form. Claire took a step closer, vulnerability flickering in her expression. We all have hurts we've carried, and I think what we need is to share, so we can build something real. Tyler piped up again, I can help. His enthusiasm melted the barriers, and a chuckle escaped Claire's lips, lightening the atmosphere just a touch. As they began to share their stories, old resentments began to dissolve into understanding. Sarah found herself speaking freely, revealing the depths of her loneliness, her struggles balancing work and motherhood, and how isolation had clawed at her soul during the hardest nights. And I thought if I didn't ask for help, maybe I could prove I was strong enough, she admitted, her voice trembling with honesty. With every revelation, warmth began to seep into the cracks previously filled with pain. Their mother's history spilled forth in fragile threads, weaving in and out of their collective story as she explained her own hardships, her need to shield them from her internal battles. Greg, too, acknowledged his wrongdoings, the weight of guilt reflecting in his eyes as he admitted, I should have been there more for you. I see that now, and I want to make it right. As the conversation continued to unfold, the energy shifted. The laughter rang true as they shared memories, piecing together the days filled with bliss and togetherness as a family. With every gentle word, a fragile bond formed around them, delicate yet substantial. Hope began to blossom, an intricate dance toward forgiveness, acceptance, and realization. I want to build that castle you all talked about, Greg finally chimed in, his voice lighter. A place where we can't just gather, but a home. Sarah's heart raced at the promise of a future. Maybe, just maybe, this moment wasn't the end of a hard journey, but the beginning of something beautiful. She looked around the room at the faces gathered, her family, and felt a flicker of joy. It was time to reclaim everything lost and mend what had been broken. Let us start now, Sarah said, her voice steady with determination. Together, we can build something beautiful. As they looked at one another, all uncertainty faded like wisps of smoke in the light of a new dawn. Finally, the castle was not just a fantasy waiting to be drawn, it was set to rise within their hearts, and amid scattered crayons and laughter from Tyler, Sarah realized that healing could be colorful, vibrant, and it started here. Time to connect, support, and love just like all families should. The journey wouldn't be easy, but they were ready. United under the promise of growth and understanding, they could create that castle built on love, trust, and resilience. So, what are you waiting for? Subscribe immediately to not miss the next exclusive stories that dive deep into family, hope, and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment below with your feelings and reactions about this touching ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.